was it November now already? So
Crazy.
it's like time is going so super fast right now, and people are out shopping or people are online shopping. There's so much going on today. So if you guys are here listening, like, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. We wanted to talk about the creative process today. And for those of you who weren't a part of our previous chat, I got together with Quinn. This is Quinn from SOS
Hey,
MySpace.
May.
And hello,
Gonna
hello.
adjust this.
And yeah, and so I got together with Quinn wanting to talk about um, the organization process and in our mental space from a creative perspective. And for those of you who don't know, like Quinn owns an entrepreneurial business, like most of us here that are listening. Um, it's called SOS My Space. She's a professional organizer, and she's been doing this now for coming up on
4 years.
4 years.
Yep.
4 years. And it's such a delight to get to know Quinn this year during the pandemic. I mean, we were drinking wine, chatting, getting all uncertain about all the stuff that's going on, forgetting about the news and all. So, um, and here we are,
Here we are.
you know. Yes, it's been quite the journey. And so today we really want to have a quick discussion about the creative process, in particular to your website that you just launched. And so we all go through this creative process that's quite unique and different. So it requires us to dream. It requires us to do,
Mhm.
to innovate, and finish. And so I have a little slide from our previous, like my previous post, that kind of draws out for those of you who are visual learners to kind of see the process and how they kind of intersect and interlock, and they're not really like it has to go a certain way. They're kind of like all over the place, and that's sort of how a creative works. We're like ideas all over the place, and and this is why I wanted to chat with Quinn as a professional organizer and also a Reiki practitioner as well too. We'll talk about that too because I'm so excited about that. Um, I think to put it into perspective, you have the physical world that you can talk about, and then the inner world, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, and this is why I really wanted to connect with you and talk with all the creatives that are here today. And maybe through the experience of the 8 months that it took you to create your website, talk
Mhm.
about the acronym, the dreaming, the doing, the innovating, and the finishing process for us.
It was such an incredible process to be a part of. So to make it clear, I did not build the website myself because it was one of those things I realized and recognized very early on that I need to stay in my zone of genius and outsource somebody else's zone of genius to
Hmm.
create the kind of outcome that I was dreaming about. Because the
Yep.
doing part is not in my wheelhouse whatsoever. My
Hmm.
email to the graphic designer and the web developer was like, can you add that thingamabobber that does this, on other websites that, so, but that's where my kind of creative brain is versus their um, IT genius, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so really the whole process was interesting because it it gave me an opportunity to really discover like who is this website for? Why am I rebranding? I'm 4 years into this business, and really it's been an evolution and a growth of who I am as a person and who I am as an entrepreneur, who I am as a professional organizer, and who are the clients that I serve. And I felt like I was outgrowing my original website, which was beautiful, and it was, you know, it was bringing amazing clients to me. But it just kind of gotten to the point where it didn't feel harmonized for me anymore, right? So if the website as an outer reflection of who I am on the inside, there was a disconnect, which was why
Mm-hmm.
this year I really wanted to explore the rebrand and have
Yeah.
this brand represent more of who I am as this, you know, intuitive spiritual being that is also creating fun and functional homes and spaces for my clients.
Mm-hmm.
I picked a theme word for the year, right? So that
Mm.
is what really works for me, anyways, personally, is to pick one word that I carry with me throughout the year. And
And what was that word?
that word for this year was elevate, or is elevate.
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 Nice.
Um,
Nice.
and so, you know, I kind of carry that with me in every experience or every interaction, every opportunity that I'm facing, to see like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, what is the elevated experience I can provide, or what is the elevated part of me that can show up. And so that was kind of like a big motivator to rebrand. Like you
Hmm.
said, the previous website, it wasn't broken, there wasn't anything wrong with it,
Yep.
but it
Yep.
was just time to elevate.
Hmm. And I really like what you said about using the like a theme word, and that's like something I connect with like 100%. Like I love, love, love using themes to then organize the mental thoughts of like,
It's like an
right, setting our
anchor.
own
It's
boundaries.
like an
Yes,
anchor
exactly.
to, or you know, like a compass point, right? To
Hmm.
anchor to always navigate towards. So it keeps you really grounded in what your goals
Hmm.
are and how you want to show up in life. So yeah, I love
That's
the
right.
idea of, or I love this using a theme word and picking out a word.
Right.
I don't know what 2021's word will be, but right now I'm still in this
Yeah.
mode of elevate. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and because as you're growing your brand, as you're developing your own theme, your voice, and all of that, right? Like you want to come up with or start to dream up of about these
Yeah.
ideas and what you stand for.
Yeah.
And so I think, first of all, I think you did a tremendous job,
Thank
right,
you.
for yourself. Like you need to give yourself like a hug of some sort, yeah. There you go. And give yourself a hug, and also like recognize that the process of, right, I see Alicia's at 1.5. That means she's kind of got a website, it's just not live, I'm
Okay.
guessing.
You know, just kind of going along my whole outlook in life about harmonizing your inner and outer worlds, it was find the right um, company to work with for the rebrand process, right? So I did
Yeah.
interview two different companies, so that I could make a decision on like who hears me best. You know, who do I feel most
Hmm.
comfortable expressing my ideas, no matter how scattered they might be, um, and who feels like they would be the one. And you know, I keep saying the word feel because I'm a very feelings based person. It's got to feel right for
Hmm.
me in my heart, in my gut, in my mind, right? So it really
Yeah.
was about finding the right company that I could align with, that understood my vision, even though I
Hmm.
didn't know what that vision would like actually look like, what the tangible outcome was going to look like. It was more so
Hmm.
me sitting down with them through a discovery process, like all kinds of verbal diarrhea to answer their questions of what this whole process means to me, and who, you know, who are my ideal clients, who is this website for, and what ultimately was super important was how I wanted the website to be an experience for people.
Hmm.
And I hope
Yes,
that that's
yes.
what's finally been conveyed in the final product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like I looked at it and I scroll through. I mean, first of all, like I'll just try to describe it right now for those of you guys who haven't seen it yet. Like it's just so clean and bright, like kind of like it's got that same background like you have right now behind you. It's so bright, right? And then because you're a professional organizer, you know, you can tell as you're reading through it, like you're going through that experience of this is what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be a very calm experience. We're gonna create, you know, we're gonna declutter your mind space and your physical space,
Yeah.
right? And then at the end, I was like, I have to tell people that are listening right now is I love that you put the Reiki back in there, like seriously, because I know at one point I think you removed it for a little bit or something. I don't know, or I couldn't find it
Yeah,
from
no,
your last website.
I never had the Reiki service on my original website. Yeah, yeah.
Ah, okay,
So
okay.
part of this whole process of this website was also visibility, right? Visibility
Mm-hmm.
of who I am and what I offer. And there was a very vulnerable piece to that also, because sometimes I
Yeah,
have that imposter syndrome, right? Like Reiki is such a
right.
new part of life and a new offering and a new service and a new skill, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
to put that on a website makes it very public. And
Mm-hmm.
when you put yourself out there like that, it feels incredibly vulnerable.
And
Yeah.
you're just speaking to the right audience right now because all of us as creatives, we all feel that way.
Yeah.
Like we all have that imposter syndrome kind of feeling about, okay, putting out something that really speaks to me, like very close to my
Yeah.
heart, and I'm so afraid and I'm so fearful what people would say or would they judge me, like all
Yeah.
the different
Like, are they going to love it
feelings.
as much as I love it? Or, you know, will they understand the meaning behind what I'm trying to put out there? Yeah, all of these emotions run through, right? And it was a
Hmm.
lot of um, checking my ego, checking the ego,
Hmm.
because the ego is where that judgment and the fear and the doubt comes from. And ultimately,
Right.
in our hearts, you know, why do we do what we do? Because it brings us
Hmm.
joy, because it fulfills a need, because it solves a problem. All of these
Hmm.
reasons we have to come back to, so that we
Yeah.
can like check the ego and like
Yep.
flick that negative thought away. Those limiting beliefs can stop us from doing so many amazing things in our life.
Right. Yeah, totally. And I connect to that so much because, you know, like yes, like the sometimes the creative process can be lonely, right? Like or doing it can feel very
Yeah.
lonely. And when we're in our mental headspace a lot
Mm-hmm.
trying to create the ideas, right?
Yes.
So I came up with the acronym like different, right? The first three or four letters kind of thing, right? Being the dreamer. So we talked a little bit about the dreaming,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then also the
Yeah.
doing. So I like to visually kind of write up, do a little drawing, right?
Yeah.
So doing the work really means writing down on a piece of paper, kind of like, okay, this is what I think I need, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, right? We don't have all the answer. You're a professional organizer. Like I make stamps. I like to create like custom goods and support the small businesses out there. They
Mm-hmm.
come up with an idea and then I love collaborating.
Yeah.
If you haven't noticed yet, right? Like I
Ah,
love
yes.
collaborating. And so then it's like we have to find that perfect balance a lot, right? Like to be able to say, okay, I can't do this, so I'm going to write it down, all the things that I
Mm-hmm.
think I need.
Mm-hmm.
Then you went to reach out.
Yeah.
So your next step was you reached out to um the different people, you interview the
Yeah.
people, you did the work
Yeah.
to find out, oh, okay, they connect with me, they will be able to speak on my behalf or
Yes.
like do the things that I think I will need because they're the
Yeah.
professionals,
Yeah.
right? And you did that.
Mm-hmm.
So like kudos to you, right? And um though I guess for those who are still working on their website right now, like what were some of the challenges you think
Mm-hmm.
like as you were going through the website and putting it all together?
Well, okay. So the I kind of, you know, when I sat down with Ryan Rachel, so it was a company called Steady Studio that I went with, and it's a partner team that are the geniuses behind the brand of Steady Studio. When I sat down with Ryan and Rachel, you know, we kind of like guesstimated a launch date for the summertime. I think it was like August 15th or August 1st or something like that. And all of that time, you know, they had an incredible task list of what they were going to accomplish. And then my job was to write the copy, gather the photographs, get the profile video shot, and get it all to them. Well, I procrastinated and procrastinated and procrastinated. You know, every time I sat down, I was like, okay, I need to write the copy for the website. Oh, what am I going to write about today? And my thoughts were so scattered, and I would sit down at my desk, no matter how many times I had scheduled out on my calendar, website copy writing day, or, you know, block of time. I would find all of these other things at my desk to do. At the end of the day, I would have like, you know, 10 other little things accomplished, but 0 writing done. And this went on for months. And then I hired a videographer to film the profile video that was going to be for my homepage. And, you know, that was done. And when he finished the edit and I watched the video, I kind of had a holy shit moment when I saw that video for the first time. That was when I realized why I was procrastinating the writing. I was procrastinating because if by getting the website copy done, I've done my part, as soon as Ryan and Rachel are done their part, this website goes live and I am seen. And it's not that, like, it was such a bullshit story I was feeding myself, right? Because it's not that I'm not seen already. I already had a website. People were already seeing me. But it was this elevated version that scared me. And it was so vulnerable. Yeah. And so when I realized that, and I was able to talk to my business coach about it and kind of unpack the emotions around it, you know, then what she came back to me was, well, what will you gain from getting it done? Real too, right? Yeah,
the blooper reel
is on the website, you guys, so you can go and watch that. Watch that first before you watch the one on the homepage. But
those are the best, because that's what we always go through. We're like 1 second.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this beautiful polished video has all of these other moments behind it. Like, I can't believe he captured when I was like, oh, hang on a second, my pants are falling down. It's
like too much information.
No, but I mean, he had the mic pack in my back pocket, right? So it was heavy, like weighing it down literally. But I think it was that really was the pivotal moment for me of realizing why I was procrastinating. Because when I saw that video, it hit me that I was going to be on my website and people were going to see this. And what if they don't like it? Or what if people see it and they like it, and the website generates all of these inquiries on all the success? Am I ready for that? So it was like, it was kind of, you know, on both sides of the coin that it felt really vulnerable. So, you know, it all just became really overwhelming all of a sudden. And then that, like, you know, it just like basically symbolically like sit in the corner rocking, you know, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I need to do this. Like, I've already paid these guys to get this done. Like, I need to do my part and just do it already. Stop, you know, stop it with these limiting beliefs and just get it done. And
I think for those of you guys who are listening still like, you know, hearing out the creative process, you know, the holy shit moments, like comment with something like, have you ever had a holy shit moment? Because I definitely have. Like, I think, you know, having that fear of putting it out there, and just this morning, me and my hubby Frank, we were just talking about, you know, like sometimes, like he's a weirdo.
We love our weirdos.
We love our weirdos. So like he thinks in a very different way too. And sometimes he says to me, he goes, I always have this thing that I want to never achieve, like never really get there to the end goal, to the finish line, because he just wants to enjoy
The
that
process.
process, right? Because that is way more meaningful
Yeah.
than to 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 um to finish it. Because well, partially it could be that you're right. He is afraid of finishing it.
Yeah.
Is he listening? um, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like part of it could be the fear too, like putting yourself out there
Yeah.
and not know how people will receive it, and that's very, very scary for all of us. Like I
It
think we can
is.
all relate to that. But the other thing is that I really appreciate my weirdo is that he really does love the process of, right.
Yeah.
He likes to revise and recreate,
Mm-hmm.
right. So the innovation part, right, like we'll talk more on being different really,
Yeah.
to come up with, right. And I think once you got through that holy shit moment, that this is when you're like, all right,
Get on with it.
I put my big girl pants,
Yeah. I really
right?
did. Like I had to put my lady balls on and just get it done.
Yeah.
And this is when I realized that there's a big part of me that is divine masculine, because the divine masculine wants to check things off the list and have freedom from, like, the freedom of nothingness, right? So now the freedom of nothingness,
Mhm.
I've achieved it, because
Yeah.
it's done, it's live. There's nothing I need to do for it anymore, other than, like, writing a blog and, like, just kind of keeping it fresh going forward. Um,
Mhm.
but there's that piece of it, right? And I think Alicia's got a
Mhm.
comment here that I think we should talk about. I just wrote, if they really like me, will I measure up?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
totally. Thank you,
yeah,
Alicia. Yeah.
absolutely.
It, it, it
It's
it's one of those things that we put in our heads, that story, right?
Yeah,
Just like, I don't know. Let me think on that. Let me do this other thing that's on the table that I
yeah,
left,
yeah.
it's
It's like, oh, squirrel,
totally
oh,
on
look,
the
look, let me go over there. Like, not making yourself wrong through the process, right? Like, I did beat myself up, and I had shame over, shame around, like, having to postpone the launch date and sending that email out to the team saying, hey guys, let's bump, let's push back the date because I'm not done doing my part. And it was just that, like, total shame, like, oh my God, I'm
Hmm.
such a failure. But at the end of it all, like, because of all of the times that I had to postpone the launch date, I was able to land on 11/11 for a launch date. Like, right?
Uh,
So, really, in hindsight, looking back, maybe there
yeah.
was a reason why I was delaying it. You know, there was a
Still, that's it's still a story in your head anyway, regardless.
exactly, that's my story. I'm sticking with it.
Yes, but you finished. Okay,
Finished.
so this is the full cycle, guys, right? So, the creative process requires us to kind of go through all the agony,
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
stories, right? And then doing the work is the hardest, I think, for a lot of makers. And so this is some, I don't know if I should be like switching my career to like being, I don't know. When I collaborate, I love like, okay, let's do this, let's
Yeah,
let's let's get it going. Like I love being the cheerleader
yeah.
and go, what did you get this time? Like, I'll be your accountability partner. Yay, like I love doing that for I'm a weirdo
It's who
too,
you
so
are. Like, we talked about this last night about the different productivity types. You're the strategist,
yeah.
you're the planner, you're the connector of people. So it's
Yeah.
it's so
So sweet.
natural for you to be such an incredible collaborator, because it's the
Yeah.
essence of who you are. Yeah.
Hey, Angelique says the process is now. That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Process is the now. We
And
cannot rush time. It's so true. It's true. And you know
yeah.
what? Time is a freaking illusion anyway. So what is time? Time is just something that you've set for yourself. But what if you didn't set that for yourself?
hmm
What if it
hmm
does take 8 months instead of two?
hmm
That's okay.
And in reality, guys, like, please, like, I can assure you, because I probably fixed or redid my website, because I relaunched it too this year. If you guys didn't know, I probably fixed it like 10 times, seriously. And unlike you, Quinn, where you actually knew to ask for help, I I was like, because I started my business like in 2011, right?
Yeah.
And um, probably a little bit more stubborn back then too. And there weren't a lot of e-commerce folks that were like really like that I could connect with, one,
Yeah.
to really knew what they're doing. Because I did actually initially, I guess I should give myself a pat on the back. I did pay someone to help me start a WordPress
Yeah.
site, and yeah, and that person kind of just gave me a very template look, and I would never really connect. I was like, and then I asked for help, and then they couldn't really help me, and they didn't respond back. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, fuck this, I'm doing it myself, like
Yeah.
that kind of attitude, right? So, I took a long time, and I fixed it like 10 different times,
Yeah.
and so, even to this day, like even after doing it like 10 times this year when I relaunched it, which I did ask for help, and I connected with
Yeah.
a local website here on the island, and they're very, very helpful. And so even that, like our launch date was supposed to be June, and it ended up not being really completed till sort of like beginning of July. So it was supposed to be beginning of June.
Yeah.
It ended up being late. And the only reason why I was able to, like, we can get it a little bit closer is because I already have all the content. So I did the work previously, right? I was
Yeah.
kind of like, okay, what do you need? I just need to go to my folder and kind of like, okay, this photo.
Yeah.
This photo. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, you need it this size, because like I've kind of gone through that process,
Yeah.
which is,
I
it's
started from
another thing.
scratch with this new one.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wrote
yeah,
everything new.
yeah. There's pros and
Yeah.
cons, like with doing it. Like for me, I had the content. It was like sifting
Yeah.
through like 10 years of content.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this photo,
Yeah.
ugly. Like, oh, I should redo this. Or and then you go through like the procrastination a little bit too. But still, we were late. So if you're gonna build a website, if you haven't built a website yet, understand that chances are it's gonna be a little bit late,
Be
or maybe a
patient.
lot.
Be
So yeah,
patient.
be patient.
Yeah. It's a big
Yeah.
process. And really, like, don't rush the end result, because the whole process is about, like, your website is it's your storefront, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
It's the awning outside your store. It's the
Hmm.
signage that draws people's attention. It's the customer service that people receive when they open the door and walk in, so
Hmm.
it's a big deal. So be
Yeah.
patient with yourselves throughout the whole
Yeah.
process, and recognize when it's time to ask for help.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
For
sometimes,
sure.
you might have to dig really deep in your pockets to be able to get the right help. But in my opinion, it's totally worth the investment.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I 100%. Like, and for sure, I think one of the key things, and especially you as a professional organizer, as well as a Reiki practitioner, you really tap into your
Yeah.
intuition a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that really, really is key, because a lot of times um, we just want to get it done, and we have that feeling of, okay, I'll just go online, or maybe I'll just look up somebody and go for it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that rushing into it could be the problem, because you end up paying for something that you really can't connect with.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciate that you took the time
Yes.
to like interview more than one website builder there. I'm sure both of them were equally great.
Yeah.
It's just that one really spoke to you more than the other,
Yeah.
right?
And
So
to be fair, like, both came to me highly recommended. The price point on their packages were very comparable. So
hmm
ultimately, what helped me to make the decision was my intuition. Who did I feel most comfortable with? Because I knew it was going to be a long-term relationship, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just a one-time, transaction. It was a relationship that involved a lot of back and forth discussion and process. And, it had to be somebody that I would feel comfortable going back and saying, not loving that idea. Can you change this bit here? Or, oh, that's not really quite the right shade of pink. So that comfort level had to be there because I knew it wasn't something that I was able to achieve on my own or create on my own. And so whoever I
Mm-hmm.
picked to create this had to
Mm-hmm.
align with my vision.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. So, so tell us, for those that are listening, about the whole website process. What was the most fun part in the creative process? What was the most fun part when you were
Hmm.
designing or putting together the website?
I would say it's a toss up between the kind of choosing the right mood board
Mm.
and also like finally when I saw the live like development site, with all the placeholders and kind of I was able to start clicking through and seeing it come to life. That was
Mm.
incredible. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so I know sort of when you finished the website how it made you feel, but tell us here
Yeah.
if you don't mind. Like how was it for you, like going through the whole process and then finally finishing it and say, okay, showtime, we're
Yeah.
gonna put it on
Yeah.
live. So,
Well, when it felt really, really real was when I was finally like when we had picked our final launch date. And I came home and I stood in front of my whiteboard after speaking with or having a session with my business coach and coming up with a kind of a marketing launch strategy or a launch marketing strategy and kind of, reverse engineering, right? Okay, what will I do on Facebook and Instagram for the 7 days leading up to the launch? And when I started to write those things down and see them visually on my board, that made it real and exciting.
mm,
And it wasn't so
mm,
scary anymore. It was just like, oh, yes, the finish line is almost here. And that's when I didn't procrastinate. That's when I had a whole lot of fun sitting down and like, crafting the messages and working with the graphic designers on like creating the tile that would, go up
yeah.
onto announcing the launch date and all of that. And then what was
And
important for me also was at the end, like when it launched that day, to celebrate. So, let's
yes,
make sure that for all of the makers here, once you've dreamed your idea and you did the doing and you work through all of your innovative creativity and you finish, make sure that the tail end of the finish includes a celebration because it's so important for all of us creative people when we complete something to give ourselves a pat on the back, to share it with a friend, to tell somebody who can reflect back and mirror back to you, hey, you did a freaking awesome job, because
yeah,
we don't do that often enough. We have to
yeah,
celebrate our wins.
totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And that was beautiful that you were able to share that with us, right? Like, me and Kirsten got to kind of
Yeah.
actually got a little behind the scenes, just like, oh, it's gonna launch. You guys want to see it first, right? And we felt so special, right? And then we were able to kind of also feel with you, like almost like feel like we're holding your hand and go, oh, like this is so good, right? And
That's exactly.
and I almost, as I'm looking through it too, I'm like, oh, like it brings back my own memories of when I finished my website and kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
this weight lifted off your shoulders.
Yeah.
And definitely when you said, during near the finish line, you had those moments of, oh, I'm so excited, I'm so excited. And then I could see the progression of the launch, right?
Yeah.
And the excitement, like I can feel it totally. Like
Yeah.
I'm looking at the stories, I'm like, oh, I can't wait
Yeah.
too,
Building
right?
the
And
anticipation. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
exactly. So you did
Yeah.
wonderful
Oh, thank
in
you.
doing that.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
really
yeah,
honestly, like building that anticipation was like as exciting. Like it built up so much anticipation in me too. And I had all this like nervous, anxious energy for about 24, 48 hours. I
yep,
kept pacing around like, oh, okay, well, like what's next? And what am I going to do? And like, how are people going to respond to this? And oh God, like I hope nothing goes wrong. Like all of these things. But again, stories
yeah,
stories.
yeah. And and when you know that it's that fearful, like that, you've got so much anxiety over it, that's when you know you need to jump. You need to do this, right? This is
Yeah,
the right thing
yeah,
to do, right?
yeah.
So yeah, so I really wanted to like thank you for being here to talk about your experience for all of us creatives here, um, in building a website for yourself. I mean, 8 months is a huge undertaking, I think, like you have to really become super vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
like you're opening up yourself to the world, really,
Yeah.
right? And that's what a website really is.
Yes. For all of you, creative makers, you all have such a gift. You all have such a gift, and you create beautiful things that bring people so much joy. Do me a favor, don't keep it to yourself. Right? Like that website is for you, and then whether you choose to build a website or whether you choose like Shopify or Etsy, like just get your work out there,
Yeah,
because somebody will resonate with it. Don't hold back.
yeah. The acronym different. Like we all strive as makers also to be our unique self, or not just for makers, but like as entrepreneurs, as individuals,
Yep.
as human beings out there. We all strive to be unique in our own way, right? And sometimes it's very, very scary to put ourselves out there because, you know, um, we don't know what people would think about
Mm-hmm.
us,
Mm-hmm.
and that in itself is a story for sure that
Yeah,
we keep telling ourselves, but at the same time to be different, to create, right, to
absolutely.
do, to dream, to innovate, right, to finish the work, right, and for me, um, working with people that are creatives, working with you, Quinn, like it's such a joy. Like it brings me so much joy to be able to connect and build on ideas together. Like I think if I had to choose one thing that I want to do for the rest of my life, it's just to like build on that connection
Yeah,
with another person because it's just such a beautiful thing,
it
and
truly is.
we
Yeah,
we could do so much by being able to like open ourselves up and be more vulnerable
yeah.
and be afraid together,
Be
right? Hold
afraid
each other's
together, and
hand.
like don't be afraid to show up as your true unabashed self, because that's when you end up attracting your tribe, you
Hmm.
know when you
Yep.
attract your tribe, and there's there's no joy that is better than being able to share with your tribe your ups, your downs, and have that support so that you can like literally link arms with your people no matter what you're
Hmm.
going through. It's a beautiful experience.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Like,
yeah, I really um, believe that we can all do it like this together.
yeah.
And if you have any questions regarding your own process in building a website too, connect with me, connect with Quinn.
Yeah.
We've been there, done that kind of thing. So we're more than happy to share some of our failures with
Absolutely.
you as well.